Hey, what's up, everyone? Alright, let's talk some Doctor Who. We have a new episode to look at. Season 1, Episode 6, titled Rogue. Written by Kate Herron and Brianni Redman. Also, I'm hoping not screwing up that name too much. I think it's Brianni Redman. First new writers we've had on the show in the new Davis era that's not named Stephen Moffat or Russell T. Davis. So yeah, there's that. I definitely recognize Kate Herron's name from something. I want to say she either wrote or directed some of season 1 of Loki or Hawkeye. I think these two might be a writing duo that work together, but I did kind of vaguely recognize Kate Herron's name in the opening credits. Anyway, credit them for writing the episode. But overall, I thought it was pretty great. Let's talk about it though. I'm not gonna break down what happened in the episode. This is a spoiler review. I'm assuming you've seen the episode. Just more here to react to certain things and talk about my thoughts on the episode and whatnot. My favorite quote from the episode was when... Well, I guess before we we should probably talk a little bit about Jonathan Groff's character, Rogue. Most of you, like myself, probably first saw Jonathan Groff in Hamilton. If you saw the recorded version, like I'm assuming most of us have. I'm assuming percentage-wise, more people have seen the one time they recorded it with the original cast that's up on Disney+. I remember they made a big deal of that, releasing it July 4th, the first year of the platform and whatnot. And yeah, people like me, it was our first chance to get to finally see this thing. I had not listened to any of the soundtrack. I knew a little bit about it, but it kind of kept myself in the dark intentionally, knowing that recording was coming out eventually. But yeah, he played King George in that. It's great. He's great in this too. A lot of comparisons people are making to Captain Jack. Even I was making those comparisons last week based on the little trailer preview. He's not quite that, except that he's obviously a bounty hunter from a different time or place than Earth, or current time. So he's got that in common, and he's got a bit of charm, but is a bit more serious and a bit more grounded. There's a touched on a bit of backstory that he kind of lost somewhat. Like, he's got a bit more weight to him. Honestly, feels more like Captain Jack in series 3 of Torchwood, the Children of Earth miniseries, which, as much as I love Doctor Who enough to tattoo it on me, for my money, Children of Earth, this little 5-episode kind of miniseries, stands on its own. Aside from Doctor Who and aside from Torchwood, to me is one of my favorite science fiction stories ever written, is that one. One of the darkest, too. That's also why I like it. Spoilers, when you find out the aliens want to use the Children of Earth as basically a means to get high, it's so dark. And the fact that it's so well conceived of, conceptually, that you don't see the reveal ever of what the invading aliens ever look like. They're always obscure. You only see parts, so your imagination kind of wants to fill it. It's genius call by whoever directed that miniseries. That escapes me. Good job, though. Anyway, we're getting way off track of the episode, which is going to happen a couple times, because there's another comparison. I'm going to make something else, but we'll get there. Anyway, I just want to talk a little bit about Rogue's character. I don't have anything noted for her. I did happen to watch Theory's little review of the episode before I did this one. Normally, I don't like to watch other people's stuff before I do my own thing, because then I end up tainting it, and this is exactly what I'm talking. Kind of not tainting it. This is makes it sound bad. That's a good thing. But he brought up those comparisons. But he also, and I've seen this from other people that have talked about Doctor Who that are public facing. Ncuti Gatwa's 15th Doctor is very interesting so far, and he's a bit of a Rorschach test I've seen. Like, people see past Doctors in him, but it's different. Like, Theories makes comparisons a lot to the 12th Doctor and some of Ncuti's previous stuff. Not this episode, those two saying this one felt like the closest to him being him and his unique thing. And I guess it's a Rorschach test, because the stuff that he's seen, that he sees the 12th Doctor, and I see the 11th Doctor more. So it's... And I've seen other people say things about, like, comparisons to the 9th Doctors, and the Doctor's always going to be compared to past incarnations. That's who the character is. So there's a lot of the 2nd Doctor in 11, for example. I mean, Matt Smith kind of based his portrayal on the Doctor very much on 11, at least wardrobe-wise, especially on the 2nd Doctor. So, anyway, some of the performance stuff, too. And off track. Way off track. Yeah. I'll go back to talk about the actual episode and what's in it. But there's that moment. Well, I guess it's a payoff to the previous moment, the setup, when the Doctor first sees, or there's a whole little dynamic, fun, almost no, not almost. There is a romance subplot going on between the Doctor and Rogue the whole time, which is great, really well done, really well written, like as a single episode thing, which may continue. We'll get to that in a minute. But yeah, there's a whole thing with the Doctor's ship. He's like, "Oh, where's your ship? It's cloaked past the shed." And then there's a whole thing about that. But when the Doctor first sees his ship in the inside, it's like, it's so messy or something along those lines. And then when Rogue first enters the TARDIS, there's a nice little Willy Wonka reference the Doctor makes. Just thumbs up for that. But I like their dialogue in there. And one of the bits of it, when Rogue says, "And so clean," and the Doctor responds with, "Yes, and the things you don't recognize are called surfaces," which, again, I wrote this line down because it cracked me up, mostly because of the state of renovation in my bedroom/office, which is very much that. It's cleaned up but not organized, so yeah, finding surfaces to put things on has become an increasing challenge as I work on that project. One of the reasons I'm outside, there's multiple. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why. Not in the usual recording space today, I'm outside, is because renovations. Anyway, there's a moment that's shortly kind of after the, and this is somewhat chronological, but sometimes all over the place, because you don't got to talk about Doctor Who in the proper order or slowly, referencing a meme from Vincent the Doctor. Anyway, if you know, you know. That's how time normally passes. Slowly and in the right order. Love that line. Anyway, let's get back to this one. There's a moment which I thought was a fun moment. This is the only problem I'm recording outside is background noise. Although, trust me, I'm also outside because there's less background noise than currently my usual space. Sorry about that. There's also children. I have no idea what's picking up on mic or not. We'll find out, won't we? Anyway, there's a moment when Rogue grabs the Doctor's hand and tells him to run, and he's like, "Hey, that's my line," or something to that effect. I'm like, that's what I say. It's very funny in that moment for a second, but then there are cut to several different shots of them running hand in hand, and part of my brain is just going, didn't we fix this trope, like with movies and TV shows? It's a trope, because it really is. And I don't care what you feel, positive or negative, about the, as we're calling it now, sequel trilogy. That name won't be around for very much longer because there'll be other stuff. So for now, as we call the sequel trilogy, episode 7, 8, 9. Whatever you think about them, doesn't matter. Back to episode 7. One of the best moments in modern cinema, I think, just because it very much took a trope, was like, there's a problem, and then threw it away, which is that running hand-in-hand bit. There's a moment in episode 7, Force Awakens, where Rey gets annoyed at Finn. She's like, "Stop taking my hand." Like, it's a very good moment. And of course, when they're actually running from danger and whatnot, they're not holding hands running. That is not an efficient way to run. And that's just common sense. Like, we don't need experts in scientific degrees to analyze like how an Olympic runner runs in their stride effectively compared to a person. Like, it's just common sense that you can run faster and better and more efficiently and maneuver if you're not trying to hold someone's hand while doing it. It's a ridiculous thing that you only see, again, kind of in media and cinema and film and television. Because in practical, it's not practical at all. Sorry, pet peeve. It doesn't really bother me, because I thought this was something that, and that moment happened in Star Wars, is one of my favorite moments in episode 7. That's not downplaying the movie at all. I actually really like the sequel trilogy minus the ending of 9, but that's a whole other video and story for later. Yes, I know the act lights out. Yes, I have to review it and discuss it. I still got to catch up on Tales of the Empire and Bad Batch Season 3, so I have a lot of watching and reviewing and videos to make in the future, hence why I'm trying to really work on the new set and why I'm out here right now. Plus, there's Destiny things and a whole bunch of other stuff. Anyway, let's get back to Doctor Who, because I'm getting way off topic. This video's going to be way longer than I expected. I apologize. Just wanted to touch on the hand-to-hand running bit. It's the only thing in the episode that bothered me. It didn't bother me from like a storytelling standpoint, more of just like, didn't we fix this trope of the running hand-in-hand nonsense? I mean, it's only a couple of shots for a brief bit, but it's still... that's my only little minor complaint, and that's, again, splitting hairs about just, you know, what is or isn't a trope in media. But anyway, in storytelling. Anyway, there's a nice moment between Ruby and the bird people. Yes, I'm unironically, unintentionally, was already wearing a Rick and Morty shirt when I watched this episode about an hour or two ago, this morning, and it didn't dawn on me until I was getting prepped for this video. I'm like, oh, there are bird people in the episode. The primary antagonists are the bird people, the family of bird people, bird persons. And I'm like, it's very appropriate for the review that I'm wearing this Rick and Morty shirt, which bird person. So again, if you know what I'm talking about, and you're like, yeah, that's kind of funny, then you know. So anyway, not the. But again, that's ironic. I bring that up considering the next note I was going to bring up. Oh, this is probably why, because the scene happens when Ruby is alone with one of the people. I think the audience, we don't know yet that the character is one of the family of the bird people. That hasn't been revealed to us as of yet. This is sort of part of the reveal scene. When Ruby confesses to her and uses the line, "I'm from the future," there's a music cue, like a little music cue sting, a little subtle thrown in there that Murray Gold, because Murray Gold's back to compose, at least this series, I think, in the future too. Anyway, he's been gone from Doctor Who for a bit. That's what, we could make a whole other video about Murray Gold and how awesome he is with his score and sound and music cues. This is an example of it. Because I played this back like 3 times just to make sure. Because as I talked about when I reviewed The Devil's Chord earlier this season, when it comes to like music, I'm sort of an idiot. And that's true. And I say music because there's, not that I'm an expert, but the opposite's true when it comes to like film and TV scoring and soundtracks and music cue stuff. That stuff I can pick up on in an uncanny way, and this is an example of it. Because yeah, when Ruby's confessing to the other character that she's from the future, as she says that, right after she says that line, there's a little stinger, a little music cue. There's a little like kind of, I know there's a piano in there again, a musical idiot generally, but I recognized it. I'm like, oh, that's totally an homage to Alan Silvestri's Back to the Future score, which it is. It is like that almost harp piano kind of, just that little. And again, this could be entirely a coincidence from Murray Gold, but I kind of doubt it. I think this is an intentional homage, I think, which is weird. That's a real Ouroboros thing of snake eating its own tail, because without Doctor Who, there is no Back to the Future, and there's no Rick and Morty. So all of it kind of comes together at once in this episode. You get the second time this season we've had a Back to the Future reference, although, to be fair, this Back to the Future reference is way more subtle than the other one, which was also, again, not direct, subtle. I don't think there's ever been a direct reference in universe in Doctor Who yet, which leaves potential room for crossovers. Maybe. I doubt it. I can see that as part of a like Children in Need, Red Nose, that like that or Blue Peter. I can see them doing it as like a charity special, kind of like the what was it? Fatal Death, or the Fatal Death thing that Stephen Moffat wrote that was in the Wilderness era. People that know Doctor Who history know what I'm talking about. The non-canon special with like 5 doctors, including Rowan Atkinson and Richard E. Grant, and the technically first female doctor, even though, again, not canon per se, but still fun. Because, yeah, Doctor Who's done that unofficially. There's a comic book I need to read somewhere where they did a Star Trek crossover, like Doctor Who and Star Trek. Again, they're Doctor talking parallel dimensions, which we should get into. It's actually important in this episode, so I'm not on a total tangent here about like a multiverse thing, because that gets touched on, which may be important in the future for this stuff, for the storytelling. But yeah, I did make a note of that, because I went back to, again, I just listened to it a couple times just to make sure I wasn't hearing things, and I'm sure people in the comments or online will debate about this, but yeah, to me it was, I don't know if it's the exact notes that Silvestri used as part of a music cue in Back to the Future, but it sure sounds similar enough. I don't think it's a coincidence. It could be a coincidence, because you want something, that line to hit with a sort of magical, whimsical feel. And that's exactly what that music cue does, but I have a feeling that that's an intentional homage Sorry, I'm referencing Cop Out. There's a real deep cut. Or homage. Homage. Yeah, homage was the joke I was looking for. Sorry. Yeah, I'm sure it was an intentional reference. I assume it was intentional. But again, very subtle. Wouldn't be caught by most people. Again, I'm a musical idiot, but I do know when it comes to film and television. I do know a little bit, kind of. So yeah, I was able to recognize it from that. I thought it was very funny. And then near the end of the episode, another thing I took note of, just because it's really the first time. I have to go back and rewatch stuff to see for comparisons. But I think this is definitely the new high bar for the darkest moment we've seen from the 15th Doctor in terms of not only his incarnation of the character, but also the storytelling of this era. And it's only a brief little bit. It's that once he thinks Ruby's dead, because again, that's sort of it's one of those fake out things where we as the audience, is not confirmed, but everyone that's paying attention, we all figure that Ruby isn't dead, that she got out of it somehow. And of course, since this is all spoilers, we find out, yeah, they're good writing. This is an example of good writing, kids. They foreshadowed this with a throwaway line early on in the episode about the implants or the little ear comms they had with implants that could help Ruby dance better. And he's like, the Doctor makes a joking throwaway line reference to don't turn on battle mode, which again is how Ruby gets out of that. We find out later of her predicament. The Doctor thinks she's dead, been replaced by this other person. So in that moment of thinking that she's been killed, he has the conversation he has with Rogue, and I wrote down some of the lines there because they're important. And because the Doctor asked Rogue, how long do they live, the species, I forget the name of the bird. They're always bird people now for me, bird person. So they're that species. Now having it starts with a C, chicken, I forget what it was. I'm sure some play on chicken. But again, Back to the Future reference. It all comes full circle. Anyway, now how long do they live? And Rogue responds, 600 years. The Doctor, good, plenty of time to suffer. Which gave me huge Family of Blood vibes. And I'm sure any other Doctor Who fan who's seen those episodes, the Family of Blood, I forget, it's a two-parter that has two different names based on one of the old Doctor Who books, actually, because it was adapted by the same writer for that episode. This is during the David Tennant era. It's a two-parter. If you haven't seen it, I think the second part is Family of Blood. The name of the first part escapes me. I don't know why. It shouldn't, and I'm gonna feel stupid. It's one of those brain fart moments. I'm not gonna think about it. It'll come back to me later on. But yeah, because in Family of Blood, the second part of that series, not to spoil it, but if you haven't seen it and you like this episode, stop this video right now. Go look up that two-parter with Tennant, Family of Blood. I think it's in like series 4, guessing around there, 3 or 4. Yeah. No, it has to be 4. Whenever Martha came in, because it was when she was companion. Yeah, it's in the Martha era of Tennant. That easier to find. Anyway, go watch that. You watched it, good, because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen that, but I will spoil it now that you have watched it. Yeah, that moment with the 10th Doctor when they're talking, like it's sort of in retrospect narrative. After you see the kid as an old man, like talking about what the Doctor did with that family. Like the way he imprisoned, and he didn't kill them, but he imprisons them or punishes them, in very cruel. It's very dark. Aside from the whole Torchwood thing, which is not officially Doctor Who, that's some of the darkest stuff they've done on the show. Some of, like that whole montage of the things the Doctor did to that family, like the way that conversation goes down about how long do they live? 600 years. All right, plenty of time to suffer. Like. He's not just gonna kill them. He wants vengeance. Again, this is the darkest we've seen this Doctor get, or this series, or this new incarnation of the series even get. And again, they don't follow through on it. You don't get a Family of Blood type montage of all the punishment. We actually don't really kind of know what happens to them, and that's important because it's tied to Rogue's fate too. Because as anyone, the audience, I could. We know Ruby's not dead. She's impersonating them and she's trapped. And we know that whole switcheroo moment's coming when the Doctor's going to realize, oh no, that's actually her. And now I've doomed her to a fate. possibly worse than death, because there's that exchange earlier. That bird's very loud. Shut up, bird, I'm recording. Anyway, there's that exchange earlier between the Doctor and Rogue about what that capture device does, and it's really a teleporter, and he was going to use it to send him to the incinerator. The Doctor's talking about what he would do to other people, or to him, or whatever it was, about reprogramming it to send them to another dimension where they wouldn't bother anyone, like almost like a dead universe type scenario or something, I can imagine. But it introduces the idea, because again, triangle thing all drops out and they fall through, and Rogue's the last one to go, and his last words to the Doctor are "find me." Because again, but there's a follow-up to that when he's talking to Ruby afterwards, and she's talking about, hey, can't we go find him with the TARDIS? And the Doctor says, there are more dimensions than there are atoms in the universe. Implying that, yeah, we could look for him, but it's basically impossible. That was his whole point, was that he was, I don't know if they all individually got sent somewhere, different places, or it's one place, and if he even knows where that is, that it's all up for debate. I don't think they're dead, though. I think, again, it's as referenced earlier in the episode, they were sent off to just, again, possibly a pocket dimension, parallel timeline somewhere they can't bother anyone. Again, whether they were all sent together or split up, unknown right now. I have a feeling, though, like this gave me kind of River Song vibes. I think we've not seen the last of Rogue as a character. We could meet him again earlier in his timeline. There's a bit of causality plot hole, like, well, why didn't he remember the Doctor? There's ways to get around that, and again, it's Doctor Who and temporal timey-wimey stuff, reasons why that could make sense. Or again, likely that somehow Doctor knows where he sent these people, but the way he was reacting to when it was going to take Ruby was like it was going to kill her. So, or something very bad. You can see the emotion, how it played out, how the whole sequence played out, but it's still kind of somewhat unclear what happened. I think that follow-up dialogue, talking about there are more dimensions and atoms in the universe, I think that implies more so that the bird person family wasn't killed, neither was Rogue, they were just sent somewhere. So, yeah. To me, we'll see, because it's not going to be this season, but I think in future seasons we could see a return of that character, but who knows? And in what form? Hard to guess. It's Doctor Who. It's never really been a predictable show, which is why I love it. Anyway, for our little next time preview, because, as I believe, this is part of the reason why I looked at Theory's review, because he knows more things than I do. I've also had a very busy week for the other video I got to put together sometime soon before the finals start tonight. It's a long week and weekend for me. But next time, preview. Looks like, I don't know if it's going to be part 1 and part 2. I believe the episode is called The Legend of Ruby Sunday, but it looks like it's definitely a 2-part finale. Episodes 7 and 8, like it's going to be 1 and 2 parts. I don't know if it'll be titled part 1 and 2. That's actually pretty rare for Doctor Who. They've only used that a handful of occasions. The End of Time pops to mind, which was the finale of the original Russell T Davies era back in the day. Yeah, we'll see. It's starting to rain, so I'm gonna wrap up real soon. But yeah, it looks. But we're seeing a more further explanation of Mystery Woman, who I believe is called Susan Twist. It's been in every episode. Shows up in this episode as a painting on the wall that Ruby recognizes, and trying to figure out, like, again, we know there's something with this character, and the reminder I got from watching Theory's video, thank you very much, that character's name being Susan Twist. The song, the dance number that's done at the end of Devil's Cord, there's always a twist at the end, I think was, again, for referencing to this stuff, because, again, it's clear from the preview that, yes, like, this Mystery Woman is somehow the interconnected thing between all of these different events, and we gotta figure it out, and we get quick shots to confirm the return of Mel, who we knew was coming back this season at some point. That was kind of an open secret, at least amongst the fans. I knew about it. I don't really look into rumors and leaks that much. I try to avoid them. I like to be surprised. But this is, confirmation. Okay, here's Mel and Kate Lethbridge-Stewart and Unit are coming back. Yeah, it's like, I could tell pretty quickly from that. Okay, it seems like this is definitely a 2-parter here, because I know there's only 2 episodes left in the season, so yeah, we're going to end with a 2-part finale. Whether or not it's, The Legend of Ruby Sunday parts 1 and 2, or the finale has a different title, we'll see. Yes, looks like a lot of fun as a finale setup, and we just hit 25 minutes, so I think that's all the notes I had, as far as I can remember. Yeah, I probably went off track way too many times, so this took longer than normal. So, it is what it is, but that's about it. I should get inside before it starts raining. I got a lot more work to do, so, alright, peace.